well, let's not confuse dystopian with post-apocalyptic, because that's actually next week. So,
True.
Clarification: dystopian is an imagined or real hellish future. You know.
It's a bad future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nicely played, Hungar. So things like cyberpunk, even Planet of the Apes, I suppose, would fit. Soda Green, Silent Running, Rollerball, all of those, I think, count. What would you guys say?
Death Race 2000.
Yep.
The original, not the remake. We don't speak about the remake.
I like the original.
Let's speak about what I
like the
want.
original. I like the first remake.
We need to kick you.
How about
Shadwo? Kick him?
no. I invited him. He's gonna have to transgress a little harder than that. What do you guys think about Logan's Run? Yay or nay?
Absolutely.
No, but Logan,
I gotta watch the TV show again.
A dystopian society would have to have that crushing impact on things like civil rights. Just a sci-fi type totalitarian society. Mm-hmm. And I think it really is unarguable. It needs to be.
We live in that.
Well, I was going to say, if it's something we live in, or if we want to argue that like Star Wars was dystopian because it had child soldiers, but I want it to be, at least for this show, I want it to be obvious. I want it to be so obvious, who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, just because it makes for better escapism, I think.
The best dystopian series ever made is Ender's Game.
Yes.
I haven't seen that one yet. L's on Fire tonight.
You gotta read the books, bro.
Hollywood and Hasbro. Zardoz is also dystopian. James L. Logan's Run is okay.
So here's a good apocalypse. Well, I don't know if it might be dystopian. Shit, I just fucking went blank. It's the I just went blank. Forget it. Forget what I'm talking.
Alzheimer's disease.
Judge Dredd.
It is, man.
Dredd.
Judge Dredd, especially the comic, is a really good example.
Yeah.
Where the Dredd
Hell yeah, America, baby.
No,
I really wish the TV series had gotten off the ground. It got canceled. They're gonna bring Keith Urban back for it too.
Have any of you ever read a little comic book by, I think it's Howard Chaykin, American Flag?
No.
Oh yeah, American Flag. Yeah, 80s. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I love that comic book. I want to get the entire run. But
What's
the take care of.
American Flag? It was it Warrior Pope.
He's.
Did you ever see Warrior? Did you ever read Warrior Pope?
No, never even heard of it. Justin, from what I remember, he was like an actor who became the president, and or something like that. He had to do all kinds of crazy shit. It's been so long, I can only remember like a few scenes. It was very kind of like Judge Dredd, but kind of a little higher up the food chain, sort of shenanigans.
Yeah.
But
I love this. I love this James L. Post. Judge Dredd is a utopia compared to a public servant's perspective. Or from a.
I just watched that last night. Actually, the remake with Carl Urban. That's a good one.
Or Carl Urban.
That's the good one.
Yeah,
well,
and they were going to do a TV show with him. They were going to do a TV show with him, but it ran into back scenes.
He's not woke enough. He's a little bit too based.
Yeah, this was about 4 years ago, and that's what crushed it. The woke. I wanted to see him going after the fats.
Brian. Al says, don't have paint while screaming. All painters have short-term memory loss.
We're going to have
shit. Probably.
utopian thing. This is actually happening in the real world. Sorry.
Yeah.
What's up with this freaking world coin shit I've been hearing about?
They've been going on about that since the 80s. There's always someone coming out with a.
I just got some intel from friend of mine saying the lockdowns are coming again in September. So we can, draw from that or from, just a little while ago, the whole story, especially if you look at like the China perspective being welded into your apartments.
I'm putting on my skepticals.
Yeah, I got those on too, and my
talking,
tinfoil cap. It's that. I was mentioning it earlier on James's show.
We're talking about fascism the other day, and I have to admit, the first thing a fascist does is take your guns, then stops your freedom of movement.
Not in the Reich. In the Reich, he restored ownership of guns. The other way around.
There's no reason to ever limit. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about this. Too real life for me.
Yeah.
I'll duck down until we get back to
I did not change topics. I am noting that again.
What's up, Cal? Clean up aisle 5. We had a chest burster. Okay. Chinzel, I've decided to become woke in 2024 because it will out the style then, and I am determined to be out of sync. Okay.
Go ahead, Bo. Well, when I think about like a real dystopian future, and what makes like Judge Dredd so good about that is because you have to think about the other aspects of society that touches upon like unemployment and poverty, these great a huge disparity of income and wealth, the things that we talk about when we really talk about like a cyberpunk-esque, and then you take all of the worst elements of it, and mash them all together. And that's what makes, that's the things that we touch on when we talk about a dystopian society. Now, the question I have for the crew is, my question for the group, if you're running a dystopian game, where do you want your players to be? Do you want your players to be on the good guy side or on the bad guy side of things? Which is more fun to play?
Well, depends on what you consider the good guys and the bad guys. I think it's all relative, right?
Especially in a dystopian.
But in dystopia, have you guys watched The Handmaid's Tale? Have you guys watched any of that show?
No.
I watched Social Scientologist if I can help it, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, anyway, but the actual the story on how it actually flipped, how the country actually turned in the way it did, is like eye-opening. It's like, give it a chance, man. Just watch those. If you got politics against the show, that's fine, but watch how it changed, how the country flipped, and how it all turned into this way. It's pretty amazing, and it seems pretty realistic.
If I'm going to read a dystopian book on based on racial politics, I'm going to read the Turner Diaries.
Huh.
Okay.
I'm not with. I'm not with him.
Well, they're basically the same book from opposite perspectives.
Gentlemen, one aspect of dystopian futures has got to be the injustice. Somehow it has to be felt by the viewer, the player, etc. The overwhelming sense of injustice for it to really hit home and be, a dystopian as opposed to a pre-apocalyptic, story or game or some such as that. Although I suppose you could sort of lead up to it and play the character through the early stages of, the whatever the actual dystopian future it is you want to present to them at the gaming table.
Blade Runner. A great example of a dystopian book that doesn't delve into specific politics, but it's more of a one shot than a campaign.
Is it really dystopian though? It's almost like it's just a decline. I don't know if it's dystopian. I think it's just the decline.
That is dystopian.
Humans on Earth, basically. No, dystopian means just like everything's turned to shit and it ain't getting any better. I think Blade Runner is just a reflection of Blade Runner. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, because when you get into Blade Runner is when you get into the second Blade Runner movie, you see how much worse everything's gotten.
Yeah, even if you just read the short story, like they're all having to have fake animals to help rebuild the biosphere.
That's not dystopian. It's just it's the decline of everything. It's just a decline. It's not the destruction of
things have already been destroyed. Like the environment is already gone in Blade Runner, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, they're still surviving. They're still maintaining. It's not like there's no opportunity. I don't know. There's a fine line between like the evolution of a society in whatever has happened, and then like the dystopian, like it's been caught. It's like there's no way to get out of it. You know what I mean? There's, just
it's got the wrong name, right? Total Recall 2070, which was a TV show from the late 90s, early 2000s. They only did one season of it. It's worth watching. It's Blade Runner, right? It's Blade Runner as a series, as continuing events, and that show is completely dystopian. Everything is ruled by corporate oligarchs, and law enforcement's almost worthless. You do what you're told. That world is completely dystopian.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said Blade Runner.
But it depends on where you're claiming your authority is coming from, right? Authority from a corporation is no different than authority from the government if they have the same effects on your day-to-day life.
Well, that's the real definition of fascism.
Well, not really.
Well, yeah, really.
There's more to fascism than corporatism. That's why they have different names. Now, if you want to talk Mussolini integrating corporatism when he came out with his original theory, yeah, he did. Because a lot of that was picking from different political systems that were around at the time and taking the good stuff that was working and trying to expel the bad stuff. Was it perfect? No, nothing was. But,
have any of you guys actually run a dystopian game? Something you would call that?
Only we played Cyberpunk.
Yeah, if you've played a Cyberpunk game, you've played with the themes, the colors, but maybe not
in my mind, being dystopian is like you're just surviving. There's nothing else. It'd be like, the day after.
That's post-apocalypse.
It would be, well, I guess that would be post-apocalyptic,
yeah. Dystopian is the opposite of utopian, right?
Yeah. Right. It's more like people don't realize, that they're in the decline or they're in the pre-apocalyptic stages. It's that gray area right before everything goes to crap, when the injustice is on, full swing, and everything is starting to go,
It could also be the rebuilding, though.
Sure, like Hunger Games.
Hunger Games is the rebuilt society after the apocalypse,
but still very dystopian.
Yeah, it's that time on either side of the potential of
apocalypse,
of everything going completely. Well, it's the justification for the power grab.
No, Rifts is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. Now, there are a lot of dystopian governments in Rifts, but by legitimate necessity. You got actual werewolves walking around.
Right. The apocalypse has happened. Very similar to, well, no, not really. I don't know.
You're all sideways, Bo. You've gone sideways on us, Bo.
I've not played enough, excuse me, I have not read enough Shadowrun. Is that dystopian
it's cyberpunk with gargoyles and
I thought that was apocalyptic, like the world gone to shit in Shadowrun.
Yeah, there was something like that, but it's still
like a huge amount of society. There was not less apocalypse in the traditionalist oldest definition of something being unveiled. The springing forth of the magic, but I think it's more dystopian, maybe heading toward an apocalypse, a real apocalypse, as we kind of use the word now, which is like the end of the world and not just, the unveiling of some sort of great truth. So
that's an interesting thing when you guys think about what would be a good actual apocalypse. Like Satan coming back to Earth, regaining or whatever the biblical aspect is. There any kind of good like movies or something like that, or that talks about the religious actual apocalypse?
Well, we were going to talk about that next week. I want to kind of focus on
save the topic, bro.
Yeah, because that's a good one. That's a good one because I was almost tempted to do apocalyptic games first, but I kind of think the dystopian leads up to the apocalypse, kind of like in Gamma World. What would the world be like before everything went sideways and you started, having to go through the dark ages and the, mutant animals and plants and all that crazy stuff? What happens before that? If you were going to run like a long, a long campaign to show, here's how it's going to all go down. Then here's the apocalypse, and then here's what happens afterward. So, are there any systems you would?
I think that,
Well, you even
the best
don't even
one I
have.
can think of is. Oh, go ahead.
You go.
Brian, bringing up Soylent Green is like the perfect dystopian. The world is dying. It's not quite dead, but it's getting there. And then people are trying to do whatever they can, good or bad, lying about the seas. The seas are all dead now. They're trying to feed people. The only way they can is with other people. So it's like, we were talking about The Road the other day. I think that would be apocalyptic because everything's already gone to shit. It's just after the turn.
Isn't that a plague and apocalypse?
Oh, you gotta watch The Road.
Apocalypse.
Dude,
it's been.
Hell brings up a great one.
There was a war, right?
Idiocracy. Great. That's absolutely 100%.
So The Road isn't nuclear. It's like environmental. Like the Earth is dying, is dead, and it's just that slow decline. And it's just everybody's surviving the best way they can. It's a heart-wrenching movie.
Yeah.
A lot of zombie movies, a lot of the Dawn of the Dead and things like that. Nice, Hungar. A lot of them for me are pre.
His camera went sideways.
I just watched all the Max Headroom. Like the TV show. Did you guys ever watch that back in the 80s?
Really?
That's
I've seen
a dystopian.
Yeah. That would be because there's like the overreach of the cable. The BBC was what it was originally based on.
The BBC one. Yeah.
Well, that's what it was originally based on, right? Because it was originally a British.
Yeah, there was like a short. Like a short movie.
Yeah,
because one of these days I would like to run like an Earth, here's Earth, like maybe a top secret campaign that leads into something that eventually goes to like Twilight 2000, and then from there you hit like Gamma World.
Well,
that's what I was going to say. Just do a Twilight 2000 type game that leads into something like Six String Samurai, Gamma World.
Would you consider Twilight 2000 dystopian or apocalyptic?
I would consider it apocalyptic. Yeah.
I would too.
Post-apocalyptic. Yeah. Now, I was going to say, you could also play around with like dystopian moments in history, like the missile crisis.
James, that's hilarious.
Right? Like, what would have happened if the Russians actually ran the blockade? What kind of authoritarian measures would have been placed in the U.S. beyond the ones that already were?
James O just said something hilarious on chat.
The Cuban Missile Crisis, right?
Yeah. Not the current missile crisis.
No. That would be the Ukrainian missile crisis.
Dystopian society as we speak.
Yeah, we do. I mentioned the top of the hour.
Yeah, but I want to save that for the prepper show. I want to kind of try to keep it to gaming.
But like you could get there's got to be a role-playing game about playing in the 50s or the 60s.
Top Secret would be perfect.
I know you guys are into GURP. GURPS has a retro sci-fi source.
I've never played
Atomic,
GURPS.
I think. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's called Atomic GURPS.
Yeah.
Right. Bo's our resident GURPS expert. He would be perfect to answer these questions. I don't know what happened. I just sent him a message.
His camera went sideways and then froze. So
right. It's probably technical difficulties. There are a few games other than that other than GURPS and Top Secret. I think you could even go back as far as like with Weird World War II. The whole concept you could start it as like a semi-historical RPG, and then you take that one little turn from the way it was supposed to go to something different, and then
have your group of characters being accused of being commies when they're just like, I don't know, an RPG club.
Well, yeah, in the 40s,
true, dude.
50s, 60s, sure. Or with the way you do your show, you literally started in the 30s or the 40s, and something changes. Games like Mutant Chronicles and what's the other one?
I would like to see, like, I've been toying with the idea of writing a series of short stories where the Project Venona was never kept under the wraps. You know Project Venona?
No.
So when the list of names that McCarthy put forward, right? All those people were actually commie spies, and your government knew about it, but kept it classified under Project Venona. So, like, what if that was made public, and that kind of mentality just grew instead of being shut down? Right? That's one little thing. The declassification of one program 30 years earlier. That would be an interesting story to work on.
Even what was the game? Turnip, I think.
That would be post-apocalypse. Turnip 28, where everyone gets their heads turned into. There's there's a plague that starts turning everything into like some sort of turnip version.
Isn't that like set in like the 1400s or 1700s?
The French Revolution. The French Revolution.
Oh,
And
okay.
James has something for you, Brian. Let me go back.
No. Japan losing swords.
James is buying nuts next week or next month. He hears it's a good WWE.
Oh, yeah, James. Yeah, I got them all, dude. Yeah. So okay, nuts in reference to the Battle of the Battle of the Bulge, where he says nuts at I'm like blanking today, guys, but yeah, it's a good system, man. Now their Weird World War II book, second. Get that, dude. Just get that book. It's got fucking everything.
Yeah, Omanow, they're already doing that in real life.
Yeah.
That's
banning
political parties.
1984 on us. The entire West went 1984 before Justin went there. To get difficulty with sympathy for the USSR is that people were complacent about the reality versus the idealism / message. Yeah. Just watch as they ban political parties to save democracy.
That's the one I was
referring to. Do I have to put on my Zardoz outfit? No, please do not. Unless your wife is into that.
I still put it on. Put it on.
If it's the toga one or the giant head one, if you're gonna put on a giant head, we're okay with that. If you're gonna put on the red speedos and the
toga, yeah,
you gotta go away.
The red speedos, and all the way.
No.
James, the James gang says.
No, he's still wrong.
The James gang says "Running for You" is the best.
It's not. It's really good, but I can show you 10 other songs that will never make it to the air that were 10 times better.
If they were that much better, they would have made it to the air.
What's that?
Hell.
Fire of an Undetermined Origin is a great album.
Fire of Unknown Origin, yeah. It's got great songs on it. The Heavy Metal of Black and Silver should have been the song on the movie Heavy Metal instead of.
Listen to the whole album again. I think the whole album is a worthy soundtrack to that movie, except for Joe what's her face is still alive.
Joe Crawford, yeah,
is still alive. I hate that song, man.
The Journey song and what's her face.
I'll pull up the album list right now. Music.
So if you guys were going to run
favorite song from.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just talking about heavy metal. Go ahead.
Meatloaf is better than Floyd Nicole. I'm gonna have to
I like Meatloaf. I love Meatloaf. Meatloaf is right up there, and I'm not talking about the food, but a lot of his albums are fucking degenerate. Like, just out there. He has a song about a French Pierre.
Weird.
He has multiple songs about French Pierres. You go listen to Welcome to the Neighborhood, and then try not to blow your brains out. Great album, but very degenerate. And they were going to turn that into a TV show.
Wow.
Jesus.
I'll tell you what, Steely Dan owns all of them.
If you like jazz, yes. But if you're more into heavy metal / rock and roll, Steely Dan is neither.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some poppy sort of songs back in the day, but they were really not rock and roll. Don't get me wrong, I have almost every Steely Dan album.
Best
but they're not what I.
You got it, Al. Omen
now.
I'm still waiting for Barbarella and Flash Gordon for my dystopian scenarios. I've only seen
dystopian.
I can't really. Flash Gordon.
I cannot stand Barbarella, dude.
I don't know, man.
He got it right with
there are some of those outfits.
If you think about Flash Gordon,
she looks good.
The injustice is what makes Flash Gordon a dystopian, because it doesn't have to always be.
Are you talking about on Mongo? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you think about
stop being humanocentric, you goddamn
pigment. One of the great dystopians, believe it or not, is Rollerball. If you look in, if you look at what's happening behind the scenes in Rollerball, forget about the games. Like
you ever seen the movie Solar Babies? It's like a B.
Yeah.
B version knockoff of
Rollerball. I have, dude. At the theater.
I love that movie. You know what another dystopian movie would be?
Great.
The Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
Oh my God.
Harley Davidson.
You're not wrong, Al.
Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man is a dystopian movie.
You're absolutely right. That's
a great
one.
What one?
The society's crumbling. There's maniacs running around with guns. There's synthetic drugs all over the streets. People are just getting blown away. It's like you're living in Chicago, man.
There's the side. You want a dystopian role-playing game? It's called Chicago. You just go.
Detroit, more like Detroit.
No, that was 20 years ago.
I've never heard that before.
It's now the apocalypse.
Yeah.
The Warriors, that's a good one.
The Warriors.
The Warriors.
Come out and play.
That dude was the bad guy in
Canadian version.
What?
because for you to have a dystopian situation, it doesn't have to be as ugly as we kind of usually think about it. Things like Logan's Run and of course Rollerball and Equilibrium, everything is pretty on the outside. It's the core that's rotten, the injustice, and even
well, we can get into culturally too. We can talk about Dancing with Wolves.
I've only seen that one once. I kind of think I know where you're going, but elaborate for me.
Well, the decline of the Native Americans as the Civil War rescinded. What happens in the Civil War? They free all the blacks, and then they come over to the West, and they just massacre all the natives. So, but it's after the Civil War, the encroachment of the Western, the whites into the Native American lands, and you're seeing
the movie.
If you're looking at it from a Native American point of view, I can see that being the case.
It is.
It
is.
Yeah.
You know
and that's what the movie's centered. The
movie's
centered.
Shadow, even I'm not
centered
that
with
European-centric.
Even the Westerner comes.
Started on Native American culture because I will just get the whole show shut down.
Yeah.
Manifest Destiny, baby. They were living in tents.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Demolition Man is a post-apocalyptic totalitarian film.
What about who brought it up? Escape from New York, Escape from LA.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It hadn't quite gotten to the apocalypse yet. They were one nuclear war away.
Well,
especially if you ever read the book of Escape from New York, which I did multiple times back in the day as a kid, because I had that on Laserdisc and I watched that stupid movie.
I had Laserdisc too, brother.
Love that movie.
I hated that about the end. I hated that about the end of the second one, but he launched the nukes from the keypad thing. Like the second one could have been good, but it was just too forced.
Avatar was Pocahontas in space.
Yeah.
Now, what about the Postman?
Never seen those. Never had
the Postman.
Oh, no, Postman! Great.
I love the book. The book with the cult of feminists and the thinking machine that was ruling.
Isn't the Postman more a post-apocalyptic kind of like
dystopian society? Yeah.
It's post-apocalyptic. It's for next week.
Because we're hitting some great stuff, and I don't want to send that episode out next week.
You gotta like start taking notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone said, I think it was Omen, that Star Trek was dystopian because the automatic translator mistranslated everything. I don't think that's quite there. Although I can actually, from a certain perspective, being a big fan
the Federation. Of course it did. The Federation's common greeting was "We come in peace," but they were actually saying, "We will assimilate you."
Yeah.
And the Borg were like, "We're just trying to resist the Federation."
Star Trek was just a bunch of hippies in space.
I'd say they're more neoliberal totalitarians.
Yeah.
Because you will convert. Absolutely. You will convert. They had an entire series based on that. It was called Deep Space Nine.
Burning for You is greater than Meatloaf's career. I wouldn't even say that, and I'm a big Bush Cole fan. Meatloaf had some good stuff, but that one song was just. If you really know the band, they're so much harder. They had two sides to them. They had Donald Roser, a.k.a. Buck Dharma. Whenever you hear Don't Fear the Reaper, Burning for You, that kind of crap, that came out of that guy who tried to... Blue Oyster Cult is where heavy metal married disco, and you got Blue Oyster Cult. Okay? And they had two kids. Buck Dharma, who played the Burning for You, Don't Fear the Reaper, Dancing in the Ruins, the really... hip.
Don't Fear the Reaper is a great song. Don't get me wrong.
Right, but they're like heavy metal for lighter hearts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas they had songs that just rocked. I mean, just heavy, hardcore songs. On the other side of the stage, Godzilla.
I
That
hate
sort of
that
style.
song. I hate that song.
Me too. Take Me Away,
it's not
or
that
Heavy
it's a
Metal,
bad.
Black and Silver, or I Am the Storm. Just where they could that kind of music could hang out with the likes of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, or even
You're out of your
Motorhead.
mind.
It's not that Godzilla is a bad concept. It's just one line. The whole song is 30 seconds long.
Right. Whereas the other stuff, like Don't Fear the Reaper and Burn For You, was more like 70s sort of barely hard rock.
Yeah,
I love Shadow. I like BOC, but comparing them up there on the same same rank as Iron Maiden might be pushing it a little too much.
I was talking about specific songs. If you go and listen to I Am the Storm, Heavy Metal, Black and Silver,
you can do
those songs are as hard as. Maybe not,
certain songs.
I'm not a huge fan of Iron Maiden, so like
the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden had a couple of great guitarists. Blue Oyster Cult had one guitarist and 4 other so-so guitarists. That was the thing. Everybody in Blue Oyster Cult could play like 5 instruments, but they had this one guy who sang Don't Fear the Reaper, who was the editor of Guitar Magazine for like 20 years. Okay, he was phenomenal, but his style wasn't like, the more heavy metal sorts of bands out there at the time.
I'm okay with that, though.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Blue Oyster Cult and Styx had almost the exact same setup. They had a brother, 2 brothers that were bass, guitar, and drummer, who did a lot of the writing but not a lot of the singing. They had a couple of guitars, a keyboard player, and everybody in the band sang.
Now, I just want to make this point. This is, for me, Zero the Panel.
Ooh, that's actually Black Blade.
Maybe even like more
than that's a big asterisk next to whatever you're about to say.
No, this is diverting from topic. I did not divert this topic either.
How's it going, Raven? Welcome to the show. Don't Fear the Reaper is for Bill and Ted sequel. Yeah.
Now, you could say you could say the future in Bill and Ted is dystopian because they think the Wild Stallions is a good fucking band.
That is a great point. That is a great point. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck happened to music?
Right.
It's like a Don McLean song became all of music instead of like 4 or 5 guys at the playground.
Hey! Don't be bagging on Don McLean, man.
He has one song. You ever listen to anything else that guy wrote?
Starry Night.
Okay. Starry Night is good. But if you start talking to me about Vincent, I'm going to ask you where your rainbow flag is.
Repeat that. I'm sorry. I only heard rainbow flag, and then
if you start talking to me about Vincent, I'm going to ask you where your rainbow flag is because there's another song.
Oh yeah, no worries about that. Get your ass back in here, Hungar, and bring Bo with you.
Hey guys, I'll bow out. I'm just painting. Let you guys.
No.
Somebody else. Maybe
Justin. What kind of friend is that, man?
Okay.
Whoa, man! I stayed on topic.
I know. Amazing. I know, Brian. For the most part, you run what, like Third or Pathfinder for most of your RPGs, right?
Yeah. First edition Pathfinder and 3.5.
Have you tried any other RPGs?
Oh yeah, I've tried everything, dude. I'm a gaming or I'll pretty much play. I won't buy everything, but I'll play everything.
Yeah, that's my policy too.
Yeah. There's just too much to buy, and the big thing with me is like, it's one thing, like, like Bo and like Omen, they like to buy like rule books to like read them and like, the backgrounds, and that's cool. You read that stuff and buy that stuff for like reference materials. You buy it for like mechanic ideas or background ideas. But yeah, I just I like to play things, and then that's kind of what I do. Instead of buying the books, I'll just play it, and if it has something interesting in it, I might buy the book just to read more into it. But yeah, I'm not much of a buy. I don't have a lot of money, man, so that's why I don't do that.
If you were
the money in space, this is a lyric to a song, but I can't place it.
I find that kind of weird that you're more of a like a D&D fantasy guy when it comes to role play, but everything else is like WW2 War. Have you never found an RPG that covers like the sort of World War II intrigue that you could run?
In my opinion, role playing mechanics do not work for modern warfare. I mean, modern warfare, like guns and whatever, are just too powerful to actually have parties survive an encounter with a shootout. If you get shot, you're more likely dead in reality. And I can get past people hitting each other with like sticks and swords, and they got armor, and it's fantasy, it's make believe. But when you insert like machine guns and grenades, and it turns into like a first person shooter. And it just doesn't seem realistic, and it loses me. The mechanics of trying to survive a shootout is just ridiculous. You get shot, you're going down, you're dead. So it leads to very limiting role playing, because when you actually get into the engagement, if you're not the first to shoot, you're probably dead.
I was kind of surprised though, because I've seen your games where you have like supers, okay? And your supers aren't all that super. You know what I mean? I can see where you maybe get into a game that allows for a little bit of super, not too much, but to help mitigate exactly what you're talking about. Because I totally agree. I think guns are way. There's a reason why we stopped using everything else, and now everybody. It's all guns, you know what I mean? Because a sword can't do what a gun can, even a bow and arrow. Sorry, Connell. No, you can't do what you can do. You can get a good shot with a bow and arrow.
I don't allow any. In my fantasy, I don't allow any kind of firearms, any kind of cannon, any kind of like muskets.
Do pirate games?
You can have crossbows. Do what?
How do you do pirate games without cannonballs?
Ballista and catapults.
Catapults and trebuchets and
what, you telling me that they didn't have pirates out there running around? The Romans were famous for having ballista.
There's a reason why the term ramming speed exists.
Great fire.
That's true.
I know, but it's not the same for me. When I think pirates, I think flintlocks and sabers.
I see early blunderbusts.
What I mean, the Romans ruled the seas. You know why? They put a gangplank on their ship. That's it. They used they brought their infantry, their badass infantry, onto the boats, and then they rammed the boats into the other boats, and their infantry used their infantry tactics to destroy the naval crews. That's how the Romans ruled the seas. It wasn't by their sailing abilities.
I get it, Omen, but we haven't had a war like that in a long time, and I hope we don't. But it can happen in short order.
And that's another thing. What's like what's really sobering is when you read about like these historical conflicts and stuff. The death ratios of, I shouldn't say like Onyx and stuff. You would think that the death tolls would be so much higher, but they're not. They're relatively low, and it all comes down to the morale.
Skirmishes.
These days,
so what happens even when you get into the big? Well, that's another thing. You're right. Is because what happens is like as we get more modern, our death are in modern societies.
Modern weapons, yeah.
First world,
I know from the
yeah, the death rate is low because we have medical science.
Yeah. Well,
no, I haven't found a mechanic that
we're not throwing armies at each other anymore. We're throwing like 4-man units at
it's more skirmish and like like surgical strikes instead of just massive
but no, I think it was over on James's stream. We're all talking about Twilight 2000, and I suggested you'd have those death tolls, but if the thing you were playing, that group you were playing was actually the forerunner for a larger caravan, you'd be getting reinforcements for your deaths from that, right? Because
and that's true.
He was wondering where your community was, but if you were like, say, 1,000 people moving in a caravan across the country, and your bandit, your game group was the forerunners, the scouts, the path clearers, or whatever.
Twilight 2000, I played Twilight 2000 extensively, and it is a skirmish game.
Yeah,
it's not.
But like, if you wanted to make it a role playing game, right? If you wanted
it's a role playing
to make it,
it's a role playing. But if when you wanted play to, it is very skirmish.
Yeah, but if you wanted, like, Billy just lost his character in a gunfight, what's he going to do next week or later on? Well, call the caravan and get him a recruit, right? But pull someone from
the back. Yeah, and you're right. And it usually turned out, and Twilight 2000 was really mission based a lot too, because
which would make sense if you're looking for more canned goods for the caravan, or a new fuel source, or a boat.
Someone's got their speakers on.
You good?
You got your speakers on, Bo?
Yeah.
I think we're good,
Yeah, we're good.
I muted Bo just to test the theory, and apparently Bo's got 2 devices on, I think, giving us the echo.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna unmute Bo just to.
Bo, they were. Are you muting Bo?
No.
Do you have two devices on at the same
time?
No.
You have headphones?
Echo.
Someone else said it.
Man, you got a big titty.
Why'd you have to say it twice?
I did.
Oh.
No, but Bo, they were asking about. They have a GURPS. Don't they have an atomic GURP?
What's in GURPS?
1950s era.
And there's like an atomic source book, like the 1950s.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Hold on a second. There's one. I'm afraid if I open up another window, I'll close. There's like an Atomic Monsters in the 3rd edition, sort of a 1950s type horror,
Yeah.
But the third edition basically had everything. You can't name it. They even had a lot of exclusive IP. There was GURPS Vampire the Masquerade. There was GURPS Traveler. There was GURPS Conan the Barbarian. So
yeah, GURPS has pretty much everything.
And I use a lot of it in my game.
So real quick,
I have the GURPS World War II stuff.
And weird World War II stuff.
Yeah, I got that one too.
There's 6 3rd edition World War II books.
Is it?
Now we lost him. Now we lost.
Yeah, the echo.
Let me see if that's me. I know I don't. I only have one window open. One cool thing about the World War II GURPS is that they have they have the cost. Everything that like a B-17, how much a B-17 cost, and like that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what use, like, because I don't see playing a government administrator in a role playing game. So why would you need to know the cost of a B anything?
It's just interesting. And let me tell you why. And the reason why is because it'll tell you the rarity of the thing. If a thing costs like 200 million Reichsmarks, you'll have one of those. So with that'll show, it kind of be like a means to show what's rare and what is rare.